Welcome back to Passing Time with Craig. As always, I'm your host, Craig, and today we've got someone pretty incredible here. Annemarie Jacir, writer, director, producer, over 16 films. Her newest film, Palestine 36, was Oscar shortlisted for international feature and is going to be premiering in Calgary on April 3rd at the Plaza Cinema. It had its world premiere at TIFF. It's the only film, full-length film to film in Palestine in the past 2 years. So we're going to talk about what it's like to film there, telling the story that people don't really know about. I know I didn't really know. Choosing to make it an ensemble, the casting, it's an incredible cast. I got to watch the film early, and yeah, it was just an amazing time. So please enjoy my conversation with Annemarie Jacir. Let's jump right in. Again, this is such an honor. I got to watch this film and it's incredible. It's beautifully shot. There's so much I want to talk to you about with this. I don't know where to begin other than, you written, directed, produced over 16 films. What was it about this story that you felt it was time for you to tell this story and wanted to share with the world?
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that, and I'm very happy to talk to you. For me, the story, I've been dreaming to make this film for a long time, and I knew it was going to be such a challenge. It was going to be so huge on so many levels because it was period in the 30s, and because of the amount of actors and extras and costume and vehicles and everything. So I wanted to be ready for it, and it took a long time. That's why I've been working on it. I've been dreaming about it for a long time, and then it started to come together. I started to write, and then there was at the same time, simultaneously, actually, as the writing is the financing, because we don't really have support for cinema here. So it's really about finding partners and collaborators who, want to take part in the film. And it takes a long time. It took almost 8 years for
Wow.
that part.
That is a long time, but that just shows how passionate and how much you knew you needed to tell the story by knowing it was going to take you this time.
Yeah. I mean, for me, there was no way I could imagine not doing this.
Yeah.
It was important. It felt important. It felt a story. I'd never seen the 30s, in Palestine on film before, and such an incredible moment for us, and to be able to talk about it, and to play with it, and to question it, and to celebrate it, and to all of those things at once. It was something that, and then that feeling really spread when the rest of the team came on board for all of us. We felt like, I mean, even, my production designer, and, he said, I never do another film after this. I'm fine. I'm happy.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. And I think we all felt that.
Yeah, well, the production is you mentioned, this large cast, it's very grand, big beautiful shots, but then there's moments of real small fields, like almost as if you're watching a play. Like I think that was what really struck me, that you'd have these giant big moments, but then you'd have these nice, really human moments between characters.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's more what I'm interested in. There's that big moment, and it's a, you could call it a war film, but it's not a war film. It's
No.
not about the big battles and the big stuff and the political, even the political players I don't care about. Sometimes historians or people watch the film and they go, how come you don't have so and so in it? I'm like, it's not a documentary about this time period. It's a story about these villagers at this moment. And yeah, and I'm interested in the moments that are between father and son, or the granddaughter and her grandmother, like these simple moments, just everyday people, not the big political figures, just people living their life, and how they're changed through it.
Yeah, like, and that's what was so cool because again, you know, there's war films that we've seen those big budget action films, and you don't really connect with them afterwards. You're like, that looked really cool, but you don't get to connect with the characters. In this film, he does such a great job with writing for each of these individuals, and you're following. And I love that is this such an ensemble piece, where you have just dozens of characters, but you know who they are and what their actions and where they're going from and who they are. And I think you did an incredible job with that. The casting it must have taken some time to find the right people.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, casting was amazing because yeah, it took a long, long time, and I like to spend my time with casting because it's so critical. And with this film, there were people that I did have in mind when I was writing. There are certain actors I was, picturing, that are in the film, and there were people who, were, ideas, that I thought people I'd like to work with, like Hiam Abbas, for example. And I just, I knew her, I know her, and I'd worked with her on Rami when I directed an episode of Rami, but she was someone I really wanted to work with, and then the British actors as well. And it was really to take the time. Some of them came really quickly.
Yeah.
Like when I was looking for the little girl, um, she was either the first or the second person I saw. Immediately, I said, "Yes, this is our girl. This is her." And other people, it just depends who comes your way.
Yeah.
It took a long time to find Yusuf, for example. And the actor who plays him, he even auditioned. It's something for actors to always keep in mind because he auditioned, and I just kept thinking about his audition, but I kept the casting process open. I kept looking for other people, more and more and more, and then I eventually came back to him almost 6 months after his audition.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, I think we got to try this again.
Yeah. Well, he just stuck in my head. I
Yeah.
kept thinking about him, and every time I saw somebody else, like, no, 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 and my casting director's like, "What is it?" I'm like, "He was better.
Yeah.
He was better. He stayed with me. He had something about his performance, stayed with me." So, and then it was him.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like every single character, I really like the children in this film, like when those actors, I'm always so impressed when after a film, I thought everybody was amazing, but I think about like the two children who held their own against these powerhouse actings. Like that must be such a blessing for you to find children who can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're really two very confident kids. They have very loving, very supportive families. And so they have a lot of confidence, but they were new. And the cast was really great. I mean, the more, the professional actors, the people who've been around, they were really generous with them, and they understand what it means and how nervous it can be for scary it is for kids. And we spent a long, long time in prep, preparing for the roles, not just rehearsals, but before rehearsals. I spent a lot of time with the kids. The boy in the film, he goes to school with my daughter. I was spending time with him and hanging out with him and talking about the project a lot and about the village and he's a city kid, actually. So what does it mean to be from a village?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then I sent him to church. I sent him to a priest, and he had to go every week, which his parents were horrified because they're atheists. They're like, "Oh my God, what are you doing to our kid?" I'm like, he's got to know how to do this.
This is all a part of it. It makes it more real.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, if he turns out to be really like religious, it's on you. And I'm like, yeah, well, maybe he's going to rebel against you. That is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So obviously, like this is a story that a lot of North Americans I don't think are going to be very familiar with. I knew some stuff, but I didn't really know. And again, I really liked that we focused on the actual people, the farmers leading this revolution. As you were working on this, was there anything you discovered that kind of surprised you about this time period?
There was a lot that surprised me. One thing that surprised me is that it was a farmer-led rebellion, and it began in the countryside, and it quickly spread. but the organization, the film doesn't really get into that too much, but it was really super organized. And there were like different groups in different areas. They were connected and disconnected at the same time, yet organized. And this drove the British crazy because they couldn't understand how to deal with it and how to, crush this revolt, because they couldn't figure it out. So there were things like that, and also just the fact that Palestine was being talked about for partition way before it was partitioned. We talk about 1948, and the Palestine was partitioned, India was partitioned around the same time. All these colonial governments were dividing and separating people from each other. But how much it was on the table, and had been discussed, and proposals and commissions, and no Palestinians at the table. There are all these, which is still happening today. It's incredible that people are making decisions about other people's lives without having anyone from that community at the table.
Yeah, that's what I was found so interesting. I was like, how much has really changed? There's still so many things going on. And I mean, talk about, you guys are the first movie in like 2 years in the past 2 years to film in Palestine, just because of everything going on right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That we're the only feature to shoot in Palestine in the last 2 years.
Wow.
And we do have a lot of filmmakers, and there were some short films, and people are trying to documentaries, but in terms of a feature, it was the only one, because we were so we were already so much involved in it once we prepared and set up so much, um and that we refused to accept that we weren't going to be able to do this. And so we just kept pushing to make it happen. And of course it changed. Like, it's not exactly, a lot of things had to change in order for that to be, and we did shoot parts of the film in Jordan. There were places that we could not shoot here anymore. So we went to Jordan, we shot, and then we came back. But it was, everything has changed. Life has completely changed. And even after the shooting, at one point in the filming, I thought, we're going to do this. We've done this before in some ways. I remember I made a film during the second Intifada, and it was like, 2002, 2003. And we were, there were days that were really terrifying, and there were like F-16s, blowing up stuff, and we would, crouch down and hide. And then the next day we were out filming. Like, there's, when you don't live in a war zone, there's something kind of normal about, this day is bad, but the next day is okay. So you find those days of normalcy to do things. So I immediately went into that mode. And I think all of us did. We're just like, we'll just wait, we'll see, we'll wait, we'll see. But then everything just kept getting worse and worse and worse, instead of having normal days. There were no normal days.
Yeah.
Which is why we ended up going to Jordan. And then, we came back. But it's about resilience, which is what the film is about. So it made sense.
Yeah.
It was connected.
It's you speak with other filmmakers who talk about the struggles with outdoor shoots. It was like, oh, is it going to be raining? Like, oh no, it's snowing. We don't need that. You've got a little bit of a different story going.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's a joke. My friend who was shortlisted for the Oscars twice, Hani Abbasad, he said, if you could shoot, he went to Hollywood, he made a film there. And I said, how was it? And he said, it was so easy. If you could shoot a film in Palestine, you can shoot a film anywhere. It's like everywhere else is easy. Don't worry.
Now, so correct me if I'm wrong, but the news footages that we see in it, that's real classic color. You colorized it. What made you choose to go that way?
Yeah, that is exactly newsreel footage. And the British were in all their colonies filming everything, and they were putting out newsreels, everything, just daily life, everything. And so I discovering these images, and there's also a lot of still photography that's part of that. And it's incredible because that world doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't, it can't, it doesn't exist anymore. And so to be able to see it, I was seeing places that don't exist. I was seeing people that have disappeared. They've become refugees. I don't know, no one, what's their fate?
Yeah.
So I became a little obsessed with it, and I wanted to use it in the film, um, because I thought it was important to show the world of the characters and the world we're talking about, and then also to colorize it, not leave it as black and whites.
Mhm.
That was very important because I wanted, the film was alive, the story is alive, the characters are alive. It's about life, and I felt like if I kept it in black and white, it would feel too historic, like it's a historical document. I'm taking the audience backwards in time, and I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to just keep the propel the story forward, and that the archive served as the world of our characters, and we're moving forward. We're not jumping between the past and the present.
Yeah. Well, it worked so well, and I was like, no, like she's just created these things. Like this is it. And then like going down and like, oh no, these are real, actual ones. And I just thought it just. I feel like whenever we add stuff like that into movies, it really helps kind of ground it more and go, oh no, this happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes my editor, even, we were working, she said, it looks like you shot, like sometimes she would be like, I'm confused that, that the ratio of is different. It looks different, but she was sometimes, once we had it colorized, she said, it's incredible. It just sometimes like she even forgets while she's editing
Hmm.
what we shot and what is archived.
Yeah, I mean, that's fun for the editor, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, wait, what is
Yeah.
our stuff?
Yeah. But both of us were like, let's put more and more and more. Both of us loved it. And I was like, we have to, like, you know, you have to kill some of your darlings, as they say.
Yes.
Not.
So we've got so many incredible characters. Like I said, it's very ensemble. But I feel like we kind of, if there's a lead, I feel it's a little bit Yusuf. I mean, we have him and his growing up in a farm village and then going to Jerusalem and bringing these two worlds. Did you kind of always knew Yusuf was going to be such a important part, really like central connection to everybody?
Yeah, for me, it was always ensemble. It was never one hero, the character. It was never that kind of story for me. But it started with Yusuf for me, and the other person was Khulud, who's a journalist. Um, those are the two characters who came first, and Yusuf was the connection between the village and the city, and he was somebody who moved back and forth between the two, and he's one of the characters who could become part of another place. Like he could have become part of that, the city and the Jerusalem, and he could have become part of that. And if, in another world, maybe he would have, but and he liked it. There's this modern, beautiful world that's exciting to him. Afra, the little girl, is always asking him, when he comes back, she has a million questions. She never goes to Jerusalem, of course, till the very end, but that's not a spoiler. But she wants to know about, her mother goes, Yusuf goes. There are people in the village who are moving between the two places, and so for her, it's a very exciting thing to think about. In a way, she's a little bit maybe a Yusuf in 10 years,
Yeah.
but you know,
Is there a character that you connected with the most?
wow. Um, you know, I, I think, I mean, there's something in the journalist, I
Hmm.
would say, Khulud. There's something in Yusuf also. Um, uh, I think, yeah, maybe, and maybe the kids, I think the kids, there's something, you know, I think both kids are protected by their families. The little girl, you understand her family is involved in, the revolt, and there's things going on with the mother, and she's a widow, and the grandmother and the grandfather have knowledge of weapons and things, but they try to protect her from that. And I think her mother doesn't want that life for her. And the same for the little boy with his father. You have to learn how to endure, and you have to, but the father is involved in other things, but he doesn't want that for his son. And I think in some way that the two kids are protected, but they witness and experience life. And maybe I connect to that somehow too, because I come from a family that, went through, their Nakba survivors. They survived 48 in 1967. Their village was occupied, their town, Bethlehem in 1967. But they always wanted to protect us from that. They never talked about politics with us or explained what was happening. We just learned by seeing
Yeah.
and experiencing.
And do you think that's shaped you into being a filmmaker by like being raised that way of like learning and experiencing?
Yeah, I think it probably has. And also that I come from a family of writers. My grandfather was a writer. Expression was important somehow,
Yeah.
but even though they never talked about it, but my grandfather, I discovered as an adult that he was a writer, and he was, and there's poetry, and there's writing, and there's, you know, uh, and I think also because I lived for a long time as a child in Saudi Arabia, where there were no cinemas and there was nothing to do, and we really had to entertain ourselves. We had to sort of, we were bored.
Yeah.
And my mom is not one of those, moms who was like, let me find it, let me entertain you. She was like, just figure it out. If you're
Yeah.
bored, it's your fault. So do something about it. So we had to do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many creative people that kind of were raised like that, where it was very much just like, I got my own stuff to do, kids. You can go and find a way. And then that's what like me and my brothers did. We like to like play make believe and create these worlds. And now, two of my brothers work in TV production. It's a
Yeah.
podcast. I entertain people. Like it's just from
Yeah.
set from childhood.
Yeah, my sister is an amazing artist, and like, she was like, we're gonna do a play, like, we're gonna perform, we're gonna do this. She was like, she's, my older sister too, so she was like, this is what's happening, and we're like, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so now, it's going to be screening here in Calgary. It's made it through lots of festivals. It was Oscar shortlisted. Um, how how what are you feeling as you're telling this story to share with the rest of the world? Again, like North Americans, I don't think a lot of us knew this story or know enough about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such it is it's a really important moment to understand in history, and it's the story of many places, not just Palestine, and this is very specifically Palestinian, but it's the story of many places. And I think that especially now we're once again in the middle of another war. It's a very, very dark moment. And I think it's important to know where things begin, how things could have been, and why certain things are happening today. So it's not like, it's a film that is, it's a fiction, it's a story of people, but the background is definitely a history that we have completely, been denied and told by Palestinians. It's our point of view and our story of these years that were actually terrible for us, and we've never really gotten out of it, and we dream like other people, and we want to be, we are fighting for our freedom, like, so many people have. So it's our story, and I hope that it's, and it was made, with such difficulty, really against all odds, and we did it because we believed in it. And now that it's done, it's like, here, we want the audience to take it, like, take this story now. It belongs to you, share it, talk about it. I definitely hope that people see it in the cinema, because I really feel like it's a community. It's an experience to be with other people, even total strangers. It's the great thing about cinema, to see it on the big screen, and to experience it, with people. But I think a lot of people can relate to it.
Yeah, I mean, you think about here in Canada, when growing up, we learned about how colonizer came over and all this stuff, and it was good for the indigenous people. And then as I got older, then more things started to come out that it wasn't so great, and they came in and took the land from the indigenous folks who have been here for centuries. So like there is connections that people can find, and I think that's what you did so well is you really made it this story about these people, and people can connect to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had a lot of British partners on this film, and the people have asked me that how come the British participate in this film? Like because they recognize it and they want to face it. People are ready to talk about, we have a lot of people have a very ugly past, and colonies have a very ugly past. The colonizers, it's time to face it. If we're gonna ever move beyond it, is to recognize that things were not as maybe you were told or you were taught in school, or if you were taught at all about it. So many people, they don't even learn anything about this moment.
Yeah. So as we start to wrap up here, again, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. It's been such a pleasure. Um, if there were three words, people have been listening to this and they're like, I think I want to see this film. Three words to describe Palestine 36. What would those three words be for you?
Um, I would say about it, like resilience, love, and refusal of being erased, not being erased.
Yeah. Those are,
Yeah,
I think those are, those,
that's like kind
I
of
totally
not
put you
not exactly
here,
three words, but yeah.
I put you on the spot, but you managed to crush that. I was like, oh yeah, no, that after seeing the film, I can agree with that there.
Yeah.
And so, as we wrap up here, just what do you want people to know about um Palestine cinema? Like again, you mentioned the only feature who's really in the past 2 years. What do you want the world to know about the cinema in Palestine?
Well, I'm really happy it's screening in Canada, I have to say, because the birth of this film was born of war. It's about war. It's born of war. We made it during a war. We made it during a genocide of our own people,
Hmm.
and against all odds, it's there. It exists. It's there. It's out there, and the first place to screen the film was, of course, in Canada,
Yeah.
in Toronto, and that was the most incredible thing for us, to be at TIFF and to have a theater with 3,000 people watching the film for the first time, and it was the most beautiful, reaction. And I think in the end, it's about we are many marginalized communities are being erased, voices of dissent being erased, and especially now, this is not, this is a bad time in the world.
Hmm.
Um, we break through that. We find our audiences find each other. We communicate, we connect. That connection is critical to connect. And I think that there are so many forces trying to not allow us to connect, that us finishing this film and now sending it into the world is one of those ways of connection. And I really hope, yeah, I hope that's how it's seen.
Well, I appreciate it. I love movies so much. I know how much work goes into them, so I really appreciate you making this film. Like I said, it was just beautiful, just everything, the acting, the locations, the like the sets, everything was incredible. You did such an amazing job, and so I truly thank you for making something like this, that the world can see.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you.
Thank you once again, Annemarie Jacir, for being on the podcast. Truly appreciate it. Finding a time when we're not in the same time zone can always be a little difficult, but it was great to chat with her. Check out her film if you're here in Calgary at the Plaza Theatre. Check for showtimes. If you're not in Calgary, find out from your local cinemas. This is one of those ones. try and get the smaller independent cinemas. I'm sure they're looking at it. Great film. The cast is incredible. So if you have the chance, please check out Palestine 36. As I said, a screening in Calgary at the Plaza Theatre shortly. Make sure to follow me on social media at PTW Craig, Passing Time with Craig, for all the fun ways to pass the time. You should also follow me on Letterboxd because I love movies and we're going to chat about them lots. Lots of big things coming up in the film world, and we've got some great guests lined up. So thank you all so much. We'll chat soon. Bye.